These are the old and new drive shafts side by side. We were actually able to source the exact same shaft that came out of the car, along with the new drive shaft safety loop that's going to go in the car that should hopefully try to keep the shaft from falling out of the car and doing the same damage that the last one did. This is our ever-growing list of parts that we have changed in this Monte Carlo from the drive shaft coming apart, or from the pinion shaft breaking. Whoops, crush leaf. This is the pinion shaft, or the pinion, and this is where it broke. It snapped right at the base of the splines, and it did a lot of damage. It destroyed the yoke. Here's the yoke. We're not going to reuse that. And it destroyed these mufflers. These mufflers are a chambered design. It did this one really good. If you look in through any one end of this muffler, you cannot see out the other end because it is a chambered design. These mufflers have a pipe that comes into one place and it stops here, and then it's perforated, and then there's another pipe in the middle, and then there's another pipe where it exits that's perforated. And these are chambered mufflers that achieve muffling by way of directly changing the exhaust flow direction. And these style of mufflers lend to droning noises, as any chambered muffler does. But also they hurt performance at higher flow rates because they force the exhaust to change direction instead of just letting it flow in one way. MagnaFlow makes great mufflers that are a straight through design. They are like a glass pack in the shape of a muffler. This is an off-brand, knockoff, MagnaFlow style muffler. This muffler, you can look in through one side and see straight out the other side. It has a small bend, and it's perforated, and it's wrapped with fiberglass on the insulation. These mufflers have a really nice low note. They're pretty quiet at idle, and when you step on them, they're not as loud as some things can be, but they don't hurt performance, and they allow the exhaust to flow for as much as that diameter exhaust will flow. We're installing a pair of these, and we will likely just put some turn downs on them right before the axle. I don't know if we're going to be able to reconnect the over the axle part. The exhaust was hurt pretty bad. We're going to have to use the torch to heat up and bend the exhaust back up to where it needs to be. There's also a lot more parts to go on this cart. This is the carrier that got chewed up by the pinion that came back and started just interacting with it once the yoke was not holding the pinion forward anymore. In fact, the diff was locked up, and we had to take the rear end apart right where it sat before we could even get the car in our in the shop. Anyway, let's get these mufflers installed and see what this exhaust sounds like. The exhaust got mangled pretty good when the drive shaft came out. Both of the mufflers got destroyed, but the exhaust pipes themselves got bent pretty good. We're trying to just put mufflers on it and make the exhaust system that's on there work to the best of our ability for the moment. And we're going to do that by heating up the exhaust at the bend with the oxygen and acetylene torch, and then using the jack to bend the exhaust back up at the point where it bent. To make this happen, we have a wooden brick right here, right where the bend is, right where we want the bend to be. And so we'll heat up just after that with the torch, and keep jacking a little bit and just let it relax, heat it up, let it relax, heat it up, let it relax until we get it where we need it to be. I started out working at Midas. That was the first job I got in this industry, at a Midas muffler shop back in 2001. And I started building exhaust and changing exhaust from the beginning of my mechanical career. And for as long as I've been a mechanic, at any shop that I worked at that had a pipe bender and a MIG welder, I got to build freehand exhaust. I will leave in links in the description to some of the threads I posted over the years of some of the different exhaust systems I built. ASE offers a test, X1, and a certification just for exhaust systems, and I have this certification. Before you can take the test for this certification, you have to already be certified in suspension and steering and brakes, so that you've demonstrated a working knowledge of how to even route the exhaust to begin with. For me, it's really sad to be working in this capacity. But anyway, let's heat it up and get this straightened out, and we'll be going. I'm using this DeWalt pump action sprayer. I got it filled with water and I got it pre-charged with a little bit of pressure so that I can control my heat where I need to, and also my tires. And it's always a good idea to go up top and just make sure you didn't set the carpet on fire from the fire underneath the floorboard. Welding under a car is always fun, especially when the car is on the ground. It's a good thing we got the miller. At least it makes the job a little bit better, right? Time to make it happen. These are the exhaust hangers we're going to use. We really like this style exhaust hanger because it doesn't have a lot of deflection, and it doesn't let the exhaust move around a lot. So when you use these style exhaust hangers, you don't want to put them close to the engine. You want them to have a room, a space before they're mounted to the body anywhere, so the motor can move a little bit. But these will keep your exhaust tips where they belong, and it'll keep things from moving around and bouncing off or vibrating off of the body or rattling and stuff like that. Okay. All right. So this is how we landed. There's our two mufflers and the axle with our new drive shaft. They come up over the axle. The external fuel pump we don't like. One side is a little bit lower than the other side, and to be honest, it might have been that way from the beginning. I don't know. And the Monte Carlo is all back together and ready to go home. Off camera, we've gone into the engine controller with HP tuners, and we've rescaled all the shift points and the transmission tables for the 373 gear ratio. The 373 gear ratio feels great. The car will pull burnouts right off the line without a line lock or anything if you just hit the gas right. And it's faster in every gear everywhere. It's a great move going from 336 to 373 gear. There was also a bearing noise that the car had before when we did some tuning work on it, and now it's quiet and it's silent, and I'm sure our customer is going to be happy with that. Here's the carrier, here's the pinion, there's bearings and races all in here, here's the exhaust. Let me show you what we do with the exhaust. Because we don't really have the ability, we don't have a pipe cut or bender. Because we don't have a pipe bender, building our own exhaust is a little bit complicated. So what we do is we got to match up our bends and find stuff, right? So there was one in particular bend that we really needed to replace. That was this one. You see how bad that was caved in? That is, I don't know if you guys can see inside or not, but that was really, really collapsing the ID, the inside diameter of that pipe. And I don't believe for a second that would have flowed right. So because we don't have a pipe bender, what we did to correct that is we just went and we got one of these tips. We actually got a couple of them just in case. It's nice because the tip already has a swedge on it. It's 2.5 inch pipes. We got 2.5 inch, and you know, line up, measure where it's going to be, mark it off, and then once we chop the tip off, we aren't just left with the right piece, we're left with the right piece that already has a swedge on it, so it just goes on and then we can weld our beads around it and it's perfect. Still not a pipe bender, but it's alright. It gets the job done. And hopefully we will see this car come back to us at some point for some upgrades in the back to try to control the movement of the rear axle. I think the rear axle goes up and hangs down a lot, and I think the rear of the transmission moves up and down a little bit too, and I think the two of these together is maybe how we got to this failure. Yeah, I'm not sure, I don't know, but that's it for now. We're gonna wash it down before it goes, and it'll go, I think tomorrow or Saturday. And then, and we're free to turn our focus onto this '09 Tahoe behind me that's getting the motor and the transmission. That's it for tonight.